You do know there were black communities in New York well before Harlem. Actually, well before you niggas was free down south.
Right? Throughout New York, free African Americans established their own communities. Weeksville in Brooklyn and Seneca Village, later cleared to make way for Central Park, were among them.
The level of ignorance that you all have about black peoples around this entire country, you're so focused on just one experience of black people. See, it's not so much about the migration, because there was a great migration to get the fuck out of Dodge, trust. It's more about what people were able to become once they got here, and the talent that the city was able to house. No, it's not about migration. It's about gestation. See, this is one hell of a pot we got cooking up here. Always been.
New York was one of the last states in the North to abolish slavery.
It's a somewhat complicated procedure. In 1799, a gradual emancipation bill is passed, which says that slaves born before July 4th, 1799 are slaves for the rest of their lives. But people born into slavery after July 4, 1799 will be emancipated. In 1817, another bill gets passed that declares that people even enslaved before 1799 will be freed on July 4th, 1827.
Actually, well before you niggas was free down south.
Finally, on July 4th, 1827, 28 years after the state's first emancipation bill, New York's African American community celebrated their liberation. In all, about 10,000 people in New York State were set free.
The position of the African American community remains very vexed, because you do have slave kidnappers coming from the South up north in pursuit of slaves who have escaped to the North. And the passage of the Fugitive Slave Act in 1850 meant that they could indeed legitimately go and catch slaves and bring them back. But the real problem is that the kidnappers would come up and were capable of seizing any black off the street and saying, oh, you're a slave, you're the slave of Mr. Johnson, whoever, and we're remanding you into slavery. And that person could protest and say, well, no, I'm free and I was born here free, etc. But if you didn't have your papers on you right then, or if you couldn't prove it right then and there, you were kidnapped and sent into slavery. And that was a process known as blackbirding. One great example is the case of Solomon Northrop, who was a free black and who was kidnapped and taken to the South and was 12 years a slave and lived to gain his freedom and to write that narrative.
After emancipation in New York, the abolition of slavery in New York, the black population was made up of free African Americans. It was also made up of people who had escaped slavery and had come to New York, as well as those who had been manumitted from slavery.
But yeah, you go on with that one narrative for all black folk.
Throughout New York, free African Americans established their own communities. Weeksville in Brooklyn and Seneca Village, later cleared to make way for Central Park, were among them.
When I think about the work that our ancestors did and the lack of work that you all do, good luck calling on them.
Right?